So I'm Russ Riley. I'm Director of Cloud Services here at Innovate.
My name is Kevin Armstrong. I'm the Enterprise Strategy Leader here at Innovate. And when I talk about Innovate, I like to start with our why. Our why is that we transform businesses and the lives that they touch, because to us, it's personal. The difference is we listen, we challenge, we collaborate, and we take action.
We have put together a scavenger hunt called the Innovate Adventure. You get to play along for a chance to win a home theater system.
Wait, what do they get to win?
A home theater system.
Like not one of those little tchotchkes with our logo on it?
No. But our clients are going to get a really nice home theater system, the lucky winner. So
sweet. Make sure to take a close look at innovate.com/adventure.
Good luck to all.
Please welcome our final speakers of the day, Tim McHale, a Senior Solutions Consultant, and Rick Rustad, a Senior Dynamics GP Developer. Today, they will be presenting their session, Move from Paper Checks to EFT for Payables in Dynamics GP. Please stick around after their session for a live Q&A.
Hello, and welcome to Dynamics Con. If you are attending this session, then you are here for the How to Make the Move from Paper Checks to EFT for Payables in Dynamics GP.
Hi, my name is Rick Rustad. I'm a software engineer with the Innovate technical team. I've been working on GP or inside GP with GP for 25 years, since back in the Great Plains days. My presentation here is to provide the information on the SFTP automation. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you, Rick. Today's agenda. What is EFT for Payables? We will talk about this product and demo the EFT for Payables module in Dynamics 2018 R3. We will get into the benefits of EFTs both to your company and, more importantly, to your vendors. We will point out compelling reasons why your company should think about implementing EFT for payments over standard checks. I will also have Rick discuss how the upload process can be automated using the SFTP service we have created. We will talk about how to reduce the risk of human error, and in addition to that, discuss how to improve your vendor relationships using the EFT module. Depending on the version of GP you are currently on, you probably already own EFT for payables and also for receivables and don't even know it yet. We will be concentrating on the EFT payables today, but keep in the back of your mind that this same process can work for EFT receivables also. We will then do a demonstration of the EFT module, as I said, in the 2018 R3 within the TWO company. And we will then demo how the automation works. At the end, there will be a 10-minute live Q&A session. But during the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them. And as the presentation goes on, if we can get back to you and answer the questions through the typing, we will do that, or we'll save them for the Q&A at the end. Getting started with EFT for payables in GP. Luckily, all US banks use the same format for EFT. Although some minor tweaks may be required, the out-of-the-box Dynamics GP module comes equipped to comply with NACHA formatting, a payment instruction file that stands for National Automated Clearinghouse Association. During the demo, I will show you what this file looks like and how it's configured. It doesn't take much time or effort to build these files to spec for each individual bank. Usually companies can roll out a transition to electronic check processing within a matter of weeks. Your company would need to contact your bank, let them know that you're implementing EFT for payables and that you need the specific NACHA file format from the bank. They will know exactly what you're talking about and send that to you. The final configuration of NACHA format within GP, which is done in a test environment, will be approved by the bank, guaranteeing a smooth go live. If when the file gets sent over from the test company, the bank will send back what updates need to be done, the file will be re-updated, regenerated, and then resubmitted for final approval. Leveraging your existing partner or working with Innovate, a Microsoft Gold partner, to make this process even simpler. Many companies are looking for ways to reduce their need for printing and mailing paper checks. EFT is an easy solution. EFT stands for Electronic Funds Transfer and is the process of electronically moving funds from one bank to another, directly to another, without the involvement of bank employees. The EFT can happen between bank accounts with one bank or between bank accounts across multiple banks. Whether for environmental reasons, security reasons, or health and safety reasons, moving to an electronic funds transfer, or EFT, can reduce the risks and downfalls associated with paper checks, and, depending on the bank, could be much more cost-effective. With more and more people working remote, especially this year with the pandemic, switching to EFT allows vendor payments to be run from anywhere and reduces your staff having to go into the office to print checks. If you also implement the payable batch workflow, the EFT batches can also be approved through that workflow from anywhere. We have had many clients implement EFT for payables and the payable batch workflows within the past year to allow end users to create payment batches, kick off the workflow for approval, and upload EFT file from their homes or any other place outside of the office they may be working. EFT benefits switching to EFT versus paper checks. With EFT payables for Dynamics GP, companies can switch to EFT instead of using paper checks. This has benefits for both your company and the vendor. Let's look at some of the benefits for the company first. EFT eliminates the need for and the associated costs of cutting and mailing paper checks, including time. If you're using pre-printed checks, you have the hassle of keeping these checks locked up, and even then, risk of these pre-printed checks falling into the wrong hands. EFT also reduces the potential for human error inherent in a check run process. Finally, since EFT runs will save your staff time versus the additional time needed to run checks, your staff will be freed up to work on more complex tasks. Now let's take a look at some of the benefits for the vendor. Moving to EFT cuts out the need for vendors to wait for a check in the mail. During this time of COVID, mail is usually taking 3-4 days longer than usual. Visit a bank to make a deposit, and then wait for the check to clear, which could be another 3 or 4 days. Instead, vendors receive their payment overnight through EFT and automated clearinghouse ACH. We will talk about ACH a little bit later during the demo. Here are a few more compelling reasons why you may want to make the switch to EFT. Save money. Who doesn't want to save money? When you sign up for the EFT or ACH processing within a bank, there may be a monthly fee or a per transaction fee. However, you'll still be alleviating internal costs such as the cost of purchasing and printing paper checks and remittances, the postage and time for mailing these checks out. Pay vendors faster. EFT offers a huge incentive to the vendor. Rather than waiting for days to get the check in the mail, and then having to deposit the check in their account and wait for the cash to clear, vendors can receive their payment as quickly as overnight. Also, email can be configured in GP, and I highly recommend that. And remittances can be emailed to the vendor directly from GP prior to posting the batch. The vendor will have a remittance show up in their mailbox of what you are paying them even before the funds hit their account the next day. This will also alleviate phone calls coming from vendors back to you looking for their payments. Increased security. EFT for payables includes a few upgraded security benefits. 1, Secure File Transfer Protocol, or SFTP. Rick will talk a little bit more about this in the coming slides. When EFT uses an SFTP system, it's encrypted so that it can't be hacked during the transmission. This encryption offers extra protection for both the paying company and the vendor, eliminating steps in between where paper checks might be lost, stolen, or otherwise compromised. EFT allows us to do automated, repetitive tasks. Moving from paper checks to EFT makes use of automation, which improves consistency with check processing. Customizing and automating certain tasks can help ensure that the Nacha files get uploaded on time by scanning the area where files get generated, either in real time or every few minutes, to ensure all files are uploaded within a timely basis for payment. This process triggers an email sent to the company's accounting department indicating that the file was successfully transferred, or in rare cases, that it failed. Failures may happen due to incorrect login credentials or momentary lapses in connectivity. So basically, in GP, we generate a Nacha file for the bank, an EFT file. That goes out to a shared location. I'll show you that in the demo. And then we have an automated process that will take that and move it up to the bank's SFTP site. All right, let's move on. Reducing the risk for human error. Whenever a person is responsible for manual data entry or payment processing, there's a risk of human error. With electronic processing, employees have only to create a batch in GP, generate a file after posting the batch, upload that file to the bank, and email vendors the remittance. There's no running around trying to get checks signed. There's no putting checks into the mail and mailing them. A manual intervention is required in the out-of-the-box EFT, where the user has to log into their bank system and manually upload the Nacha file to the bank. Innovate, on the other hand, takes a step a bit further so that once the file gets generated in GP, the upload to the bank happens automatically, as Rick just described. Generally, the more that can be automated, the less risk for human error. Improving vendor relationships. A little bit more on that. When vendors can rely on fast, accurate payments, they are more likely to do business with your company or any company in the future. Automated payment processing is one way to ease your own employees' workload while taking care of vendor needs at the same time. You probably already own the EFT for Payable module, and honestly, you probably already own the Receivable module. Depending on what version of GP your company is running, such as GP 2016, GP 2018, most companies already own the EFT for Payables module, the Receivables module, and a whole list of other banking suites that we're not talking about during this presentation. If so, you will save on the cost of purchasing the module. It could be that you're just not taking advantage of the technology, you don't know you have it, or that you don't know where to start with the configuration. Consulting from any partner, including Innovate, can help get you started. Get in touch with any of your partners or Innovate to learn how you can get set up with Microsoft GP EFT for Payables. Now let's move on to the demonstration. Before we do, quick reminder that there will be a Q&A of about 10 minutes at the end of the demo. And please, hopefully, as we're going through, you've been typing in your questions into the area where you can do that. All right, so on to the demo. So I am in, and I'll just pull this down, about Microsoft Dynamics GP. I'm in GP 2018 R3, most current version of GP out there. So your first step is to go into your checkbook under cards, bring up whatever checkbook is going to be used for EFT. You're going to have to assign the cash account, some other information, but the important thing for the EFT is going to be the bank account number and the fact that it's tied to a bank, in this case, First Bank. And the in-transit number would go here. Second step would be to go into the EFT bank down here in the lower right corner. When I click that, this brings up my checkbook EFT bank maintenance window. When you first come in to this window, it's going to basically say, if I can find it here, none. and none of this will be filled in. You'd want to choose which country or region you're doing. For the most part, the NACHA format works for Canada and the United States. Here I chose the United States. I've got my transit routing number for my bank. I've got my bank account number. I've got my tax registration number, my bank identification number. This all comes from the bank. I've got the bank company name that's associated with the bank, my company ID number with the bank. I've also got in that specific file that you've asked for from the bank, certain things that are in that file. Service class code for this bank would be 200, but that could vary. A blocking factor, you'd put in a format code, again, based on the bank specific, and a priority code. This is all you would need to fill in for the checkbook maintenance window. The next step would be to go to the payables option window. When I go into the payable option window, I have a couple of things here. Up top, I have the choice of either using check numbers or EFT numbers. If I use check numbers, and I highly do not recommend using check numbers, but if you use check numbers, it's going to sequentially take the checkbook numbers and use them for EFTs. We don't want that. So you want to choose the use EFT number, and you can put in whatever you want for numbers, and it'll sequentially move forward for you there. By using the EFT numbers too, you're also able to, at the end, to send out remittances either by email or print them off and mail them to the customer. Okay, you also have something called a pre-note here. I don't usually use a pre-note when I implement EFT. That's based on the bank. What a pre-note is, if you get a new vendor and you sign that vendor up for EFT, you'd get the vendor information, put it into the vendor card. I'll show you where that is. You generate a pre-note, which would be sent over to the bank. The bank would then verify that everything that the vendor gave you is accurate. Some companies like to use it whether the bank needs it or not. Just an extra step. Okay, you also have to set up where the output file is. So when we generate the EFT file, this is the file location that the file will go to. Now within EFT, we can generate a domestic file, a foreign file, or the pre-note that we just talked about. Next section up here would be basically where you would go and create your NACHA EFT file format that you got from the bank. Now, you can either do a single file format, or you may have to do double, two different ones. So let me explain that. If you only are paying corporate customers, then you only need one NACHA file format. But if you are paying employees for expense reimbursements or anything like that, then you will need to create a second one, which is called a PPD account. The other one is called a CCD, or corporate account. This is a personal account, because usually the employees have what are called personal checking accounts, and they have to be set up that way or it will get rejected from the bank. Okay, the next step is to basically go in and review or set up the file. And this is where the meat and potatoes of setting up the EFT file format happens. So everything the bank sends you, for the most part, you can see I've got a NACHA PPD, I've got a NACHA CCD account, very similar, but basically, you're going to pick your format type. And I just want to show you one thing here. When I go into the format type, there are a lot of different formats for Canada. There's a lot of different formats for the US, but they're all, as far as the US goes, they're all NACHA formats. And then there's actually another one for Scotiabank down here for Canada. There is something called user defined. So this is not a tool that works very well with foreign banks and multi-currency. But you can go in and get the specs from those banks and build them through the user defined portion. It is difficult, though, I will say that. Okay. A couple more things about the file format. Usually there's a file header. Usually there would be a batch header. Usually there would be a detail header. Some banks want to have an addenda. There's always going to be a batch control. There's always going to be a file control. And as I'm going through it, it's basically creating different line items down here for each one. And I need to go in and map each of these specifically for the bank. Okay, I'm going to click save on that. Once you've got your Nacha file format set up, then you want to go to the vendor card. And most companies send out a mass mailing to vendors and let them know that they're moving to EFT and talk about the incentives to the vendor to sign up. A lot of vendors will go down the route of signing up for that. So basically, I've got one here that I predefined, Advanced 001. You go into the vendor address card, maintenance card, click on the EFT bank, and from here, you would choose, again, the country or region that this vendor is from, the bank name, the routing number for that bank, and the bank account number. And over here, since I have two different types, whether it's a corporate or a personal account, we just talked about that. I'm choosing this company is going to always grab the corporate Nacha format. And then the account type that they have. 99% of the time, it will go into a checking account. All this information down here, real quick, is if you were building an international user-defined format, you'd go down here and you'd use this. And click OK. Okay, so once you've got your bank approved for the EFT file, and once you've got your vendors set up, now you can go and actually run a EFT file. So to do that, you'd go in and you'd create a batch. And by the way, the EFT file run here is exactly like a check run. So if you're an AP clerk and you've done check runs in GP, you're going to see how familiar this is. Okay, so I'm going to grab my batch ID. I'm going to choose computer checks. But when I put in computer checks, instead of choosing check here, I'm going to choose EFT. It automatically pulls up my default checkbook. I can change it if I want to. Based on that checkbook and how I set it up, the file format already knows whether it's domestic or foreign. From here, I'm going to go in, and some companies do it different ways. I like to go in when I'm building my check run or my EFT run directly into the EFT or the edit payment batch window. So I'm going to go in here, and advanced is the one that I have set up. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to pay, this one I'm going to pay, and that one. Now, one feature I want to show you is if I go to Allenson and I try to pay this particular vendor with an EFT, it's going to kick back and give me an error saying that this particular vendor is not set up for EFT. It won't let you unless you go in there and set that up at the vendor card, pay them by EFT. Okay, so it's foolproof. Now, advanced, on the other hand, even though they're EFT, I can still pay them by check if I want to. Okay, so once I get my batch, I can print an edit list. I won't go through that. And I click on process here. And that brings me to this window here. So instead of printing checks, I'm actually going to print my remittances. And it's already checked here to check off separate remittance. I'm going to click process. And it brings me to this window here where I can check on remittance. Couple of things here. I highly recommend we have you set up, or your bar has you set up, you have your bar set up email in GP, because if you have 50 vendors you're paying and you've got to print off 50 remittances, you would need to basically print each one off, put them in an envelope and mail them out. And then again, you're talking 2, 3, 4 days for them to get the remittance. But if you have email set up, I can check this box here. And as long as I have the email information all configured in GP and on the vendor card, it will basically email each remittance out to each vendor. And if it cannot, it'll actually give me a list. It'll say here, print if mail cannot be sent. So basically, it will print the documents that it can't mail, and it will print a report that shows all the ones that did go out through email and all the ones that did not go out through email. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and process that. And basically, you have either template format or standard format. I'll show you the template format. It's up here. Let me just pull this down. There it is. Okay, so they would get this in their email. Or, again, you would put it in the mail and send it out. Now, finally, the last step here, just like a check run, is to post the batch. So I go in here and I hit process. And I don't need to show these reports. Okay, so basically what we've got here is we posted our batch, it's updated our general ledger, it's updated our sub ledger, all the invoices are paid. There is one final step here for the EFT that's different than the check run. Under transactions, you've got this generate EFT file. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to bring up my checkbook. And this can be done, I highly recommend doing this on a daily basis or every time you do a check or an EFT run. But basically, if you forget to generate the file up to the bank and you've gone a couple of days without doing it, these batches will stay here until you actually check them off and generate the batch. So in this case here, I'm going to come down here and choose the one that I just did. Okay. Check with your bank. A lot of banks like to have the settlement date a different date than the transmission date. Most banks prefer that you send a settlement date of 2 days out. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and generate EFT. Now notice that it disappeared from the window, and basically I get this box pops up and tells me exactly where that file was generated. And it was, again, part of the setup that it was generated out to. If I go out and look, I set it up on my local drive, C drive, in a folder called EFT. And that's the one that just went out today, this afternoon, that we just did. 3.9 at 3.11. Now, this was one I did earlier today. But basically, the one thing I wanted to show you, which is why I did one earlier, was that each one, if you do more than one in a day, it's going to put a suffix on the end and it'll increment the suffix. So it's not going to overwrite the one that was there before. Okay. And this is what the file will actually look like. Looks like a lot of garbage, but basically this is all the data that we pulled out of GP based on the EFT specs that were sent over, the NACHA specs that were sent over by the bank. And this is what we would either manually upload to the bank, or Rick, I'm going to let you take over now and talk about the customization, because the customization piece will actually scan this area here and it will either upload it and move it into what's called the upload success folder, or if it failed for whatever reason, it would load it into the upload failure folder. And either way, you're going to get an email back saying that it's either uploaded successfully or uploaded in or failed to upload. Rick, over to you.
Okay, thanks. So the automated SFTP service really comes down to the configurations. The program is pretty well set and settled. So you can come in here and after you install it, deployed it, initially what I do is I'll fire up WinSCP. We use WinSCP just to confirm connection with the information given to us by the bank. So that same information that we use in WinSCP, we plug in here, such as the host name, which is typically the URL to the bank's SFTP site. We're going to have a port, and the username and password is how do you basically knock on the door and get access into their system. If I slide on down further, this is the configuration for the push or the upload of the automation. So in high level, speaking level here, what it basically does, it monitors a source folder. And when any file comes into that source folder, it's either going to pick it up and send it to the bank or not. Now there's a source filter, and you can see this is just looking for .csv files. So if there's a bunch of other extraneous file extensions, the automated service doesn't even look at them. So in this case, it picks up the CSV file, and if it uploads successfully, like Tim said, we put that file in the success folder. Now, if it failed for any reason, bad connection or something in the router failed to connect up, or it connected up and then it dropped the connection, then it'll go in the failure folder. The destination folder is the folder within the bank's SFTP site. The interesting part here is, so when we upload the file, we can use any number of these parameters in that file setting and the destination file name. So you can see here we've got file name.csv, but I could have file name and then after it have a date timestamp, and then in the parentheses here is the format of the date. So you could have just the year, you could have year, month, day, year, et cetera, et cetera. So this works really well if you upload files multiple times, and let's say that the destination file name is supposed to be some specific, file with the bank. You can add that date timestamp so that it doesn't overwrite the file you just uploaded, say, an hour ago. And also in this configuration, we have email notification. You can turn on, enable, disable, and we have two settings. One is for the on success and on failure. So if it fails, we do one thing. If it succeeds, we do another. So that is the push stream or the upload to the bank's SFTP site. The pull stream is very much like the pull. The pull stream is very much like the push, except in reverse. So the source folder is going to be the bank's SFTP folder. And we also have a source filter, just like before. The destination folder is the folder or shared network drive you have to your local domain. So in this case, it pulls the file from the bank's SFTP site /folder, and it places it in your folder locally. And as well, we have these email notifications on whether it succeeded or failed. This here in particular, the one slight difference between the push and the pull, it does a sleep time. And the sleep time here you can see is in minute increments. In the push, it's in seconds. And we do that because sometimes some files, it only takes, 30 milliseconds to put the file out there. But if you have a huge file, it might take a couple minutes. So it's going to allow that process to create the file in, say, 120 seconds. So let me scroll up to the email notification configuration, which again is very similar to the SFTP configuration, but this has to do with your SMTP. So in this portion, you have your local SMTP host. You set that up, configure it based on the port that you use. So I typically get this information from IT, those people that really work with Exchange Server. And then you can have a sender email address, who you're sending this to. And you always have, that's the from email address. The recipient is who's receiving it. So you can have a number of these here in the receiving where you just separate them by a comma, I believe it is, or semicolon, but you can have multiple recipients. But you do have to have a sender email or a from email address. And with the same thing with the push and pull, you can have multiple email profile configurations. So in this case, we have again, this would be just another profile. This is profile 2. So if I go down here to the actual notification portion, and my screen isn't big enough to show everything, so I'm going to try and show a little bit of both. So the source filter is the same thing. We're going to monitor just certain files, just like the push and pull. In this case, you can see it as text file, but that probably wouldn't work in the current configuration and with CSV. But we have a source folder, a success folder, and a failure folder. These work the same way. If the email succeeds, the file goes to the success folder. If the email fails, then it goes to the failure folder. The email profile, that's the one that we just talked about a little bit ago, which profile this is using. And then we get into the subject and the body of the email. And that's where it really gets to be more important. If this is being configured for a successful upload, you probably just say file name such and such was successfully uploaded, and then you have a date and time stamp. But if it fails, you probably want to have a little more information of where the file is located and possibly what kind of area you can capture with what failed. So that's pretty much it for the automated SFTP configuration. It's fully automated, so once you install it, it's a Windows service, so it just keeps on chugging away. You can have the email notification enabled, disabled, and you can have multiple SFTP configurations. So if you have multiple banks, you can have multiple configurations in the same automation. So that's all for me. And don't forget to visit the virtual booths. Back to you, Tim.
Great, Rick. Thank you. And that's pretty much it. Just remember that we are going on to a Q&A session now. So please, if you haven't put your question in yet, please do, and we'll answer every question that we're capable of. Anyway, the other thing is, if you want to talk about any of this in more detail, please visit Rick and I at our umbrella at our Innovate booth. Both of us are signed up there and looking forward to talking to people. Well, hello everybody. How are we doing? And happy St. Patrick's Day. I do have my green shirt on. I do have a green hat, which I'll throw on for a second here and take off. But for all you Irish people out there and all you non-Irish people out there, happy St. Patrick's Day. Rick and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching our presentation and demo. We were very excited to be chosen to do this, and we want to thank Dynamics Con for allowing us to do the presentation. It's too bad it had to be virtual. It would have been so much more fun on site to be able to visit and see everybody, but obviously with the COVID, and that didn't happen this year, but maybe next year. So my name's Tim. Obviously, Rick, you want to introduce yourself? Say a few words.
Hi, thanks, Tim. Yeah, it's been exciting. I'd much rather do live presentations than recorded. So my name is Rick Rustad. I work at Innovate, and I'm the software solution provider. So if anybody needs some customizations, that's where I step up and do my work. And that's where the automated SFTP process kicked in, because someone needed some automation that we took care of.
Okay, a couple of more things and we'll get to the demo. I just want to remind everybody again that you do, if you're in GP 2016, 2018, you do own the EFT for Payables module, but you also own the EFT for receivables. You own what's called electronic reconcile. You own what's called safe pay, or banks call it a positive pay. And you also own Lockbox. So these are modules that I highly recommend either talking to your VAR or talk to Innovate, and we can go in more detail on all these other modules. And basically, the customization that Rick has gone through will work for any of these modules. So Rick, let's go to see what we have out here. Rick, there is a question for you. How would the automated SFTP service work with BC or any other financial system?
Yeah, it's a good lead-in question. The automated SFTP process is pretty much standalone. It'll work with really anything. It doesn't have to be a financial or ERP system. So to answer the question specifically, how it worked with BC, if BC, and I'll be ignorant, I don't know BC, but if BC can export the same ACH or Nacha files, this automated process, all it does is it monitors a folder. When the file gets placed in that folder, it picks it up and sends it up to the bank's SFTP site. So it'll work with any financial ERP system, programming, whichever. It could even be extended outside of any ERP. So I was even thinking, a while back that if you had some, some CAD programming or some files that you need to upload, some legal documents, this could also handle that. So again, it just monitors the folder. It picks the file up and sends it on its merry way. Good question.
Great question. And Rick, I just want to add to that too, that basically when the file does get put out there, and I don't remember if it was in the presentation we just did. It was in the original, but I think it got cut out. So probably due to time. But we do have part of that customization. There is email that we will configure that will basically let whoever you want, whether it's your accounting team, your finance team, your AP team, letting them know that that file has been uploaded to the bank's SFTP site. And if for some reason the file does not get uploaded, you'll also get an email that it was rejected. And that file does get moved to either a rejected folder, or for the most part, 99% of them get to a move to a uploaded folder.
Yes, that's true. There is email notification, so it can be configured to send you an email, or whoever, it could be one or multiple people, to let you know that the file is uploaded successfully, and or if it failed. So sometimes there's a hiccup in the transmission, something in the transmission line. Who knows? We always see some of these garbled voice messages. I mean, it's no different. So sometimes it could be just the password has failed, or there might be some other technical issue with the connection to the bank. But yeah, that's some of the situations you might run into if it fails on the upload. And it also downloads. We probably didn't specify that as much, but in some such situations, I mean, the ACH is primarily uploading, but Tim and I have implemented the same similar situation for downloading files from a bank. And then, I'm trying to remember, what was it that?
Well, the BAI2 file for the electronic reconcile, and lockbox files coming back for AR cash receipts.
Yeah, so it works both ways.
Yeah. I would agree, Paul. It is we've been selling a lot of this to our clients, and it is a great extension of the GP EFT feature. But again, not only EFT, it's for electronic reconcile, it's for lockbox, it's for SafePay. It can be used for really anything outside of GP2, as Rick explained. So, all right, Rick, we got another one from Becky. With the bank I'm uploading files to with the standard ACH format, how much time will it take to implement this from start to finish? Okay, Becky, I'm assuming that the question there, and I wish we could converse back and forth. I'm assuming the question is that you are manually uploading that file to the bank right now. Or actually, are you even doing that? Are you just going in and creating the ACH files within, are the payments within the bank? And maybe you haven't implemented this module yet. So I'm going to take it that route. I'm going to say that's what the question is. If you have not implemented the module, it usually takes about 3 weeks, start to finish. Basically, the amount of time it really takes is the amount of time that it takes for the bank to do their job, because we need to get the specific NACHA format from that bank, whether it be Bank of America, Key Bank, whatever. Basically, they send that file format over. Your bar, or obviously, if you're working with Innovate, we would build that file to spec, the NACHA format file. We would then basically generate a sample file, send that back to the bank. The bank would then have to go through and approve it. Sometimes there still has to be updates that need to be done. So the bank will send it back, we tweak it, send it back to the bank. But you really have to stay on top of the bank, because sometimes I've seen where a bank will take a week before they even get back to you. So
yeah, it's kind of a two-part question, Tim, because that's the ACH side of it. The second side is the automation for the EFT, which still can take 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how quickly the bank can turn those things around, because you have to get the SFTP login credentials, and there's some other technical aspects to it, and then the actual testing of the upload. That can, we've seen that take 2 weeks sometimes with some banks, so it depends.
Right. Okay, we got another question here, Rick. If you pay a utility fee on their site, is there a way to import that information into GP? So I'm trying to understand that question. Are you saying that you basically are, well, two things you could be doing. You're paying a utility fee. Let's say you're paying your electric bill. You're welcome, Becky. If you're paying your utility fee, you may be paying through an ACH or EFT, or you may be paying through an outsourcing of your checks. So basically, you outsource the checks, and the bank then cuts the checks and sends them to your customer, or I mean your vendor. So if either way, if are you looking to? I guess the question is, what are you looking to have brought back into GP? Brandy, if you want to, or actually, I'm going to take your name down. Why don't we talk tomorrow? We can talk either Umbrella, or you can reach out to me on my email. But I'm going to reach out to you, Umbrella, and let's talk about that, because I'm just want to make sure I fully understand the question.
Yeah, in general, just to import information into GP, there's basically primarily two ways. There's the integration manager, and then many people use E1 Smart Connect.
Correct. Yeah, so if you are looking to import data back down from the bank, there's actually three ways to do that. We could use Integration Manager, we could use a tool called Smart Connect, or again, if you're looking to download your BAI2 files and do electronic reconciliations, that's all part of the tool with that electronic reconciliation module. That, again, we didn't present that today, but I would love to talk to you about it. You're welcome, Brandy. Anything else?
There's got to be a ton of other questions. Is this, I mean, from your experience, Tim, is the ACH has been utilized for what, a decade or two?
Oh yeah, yeah, but it's becoming much more popular now. A combination of two things that are becoming very popular right now. The EFT or ACH. A lot of companies are getting vendors to sign up for that. And the other thing is check outsourcing, so that you're not, again, either way, you're not cutting checks in-house. You're not keeping check stock in-house. And we also specialize in using Rick's automation in conjunction with either a SQL report, SSRS report, or any other kind of report. Could be a BI report that we pull the data out of GP and upload that to the bank, so that in the format that the bank needs it, so that they can go do their check outsourcing, cut the checks, and send them to the vendors.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Looks like we have at least 10 more minutes here. We can.
No, actually.
So why is St. Patrick's Day so popular?
I think we have like 2 minutes, Rick.
Okay.
2 minutes. John,
being non-Irish, why is St. Patrick's
Day have a
so
new
popular?
feature for importing payable invoices. Yes, John, that is completely true. Yep. Anything else?
Going once?
Okay. So I just want a couple more reminders. Seems like we are at the end, and we want to, again, thank you, Rich. So I want to thank everybody again for being here, and we want to thank Dynamics Con again for putting on this event. And just again, I want to throw it out there. Don't forget to visit our Innovate booth on Breda on the sponsor tab. When you do go there, basically there's a chance for you to win a home theater package by playing the Innovate Adventure. I wanted to play. I asked if I could win. They said no. So it's still available, and I can tell you that it's a great package. So, and while you're there, please reach out to all our sales and marketing team. And everybody have a great St. Patrick's Day. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much.